Welcome to Habeas Treasures, where I try to decipher this book, There's Treasure Inside by Jon Collins-Black, in order to find one of the 5 hidden treasures. On today's episode, I'll continue my breakdown of the Pokemon Box chapter, and specifically why I think the West Baden Springs Hotel plays a key role in finding the treasure. Let's begin. In my last video, I explained how the missing bubbles around the Froakie's neck and the added water droplet on its chest led me to the German word Sprudel, meaning bubble water, and how Sprudel water was the name of the famous bottled water sold by the West Baden Springs Hotel in the early 1900s. The West Baden Springs Hotel has a very interesting and colorful history that I think makes it a perfect place to feature in a treasure hunt. Here's what I mean. The original West Baden Springs Hotel was built in the 1800s but burned down in 1901. The owner at the time, Lee Sinclair, decided he was going to rebuild the hotel in the shape of the largest freestanding dome in the world. When the hotel reopened the next year, it was marketed as the 8th wonder of the world, due to the size of the 200-foot atrium, which held the record at the time as the largest freestanding dome building in the world, until the Houston Astrodome was built in 1965. I think it's worth stopping here for a second and connecting this information back to the treasure. It's possible that when the author writes that the site of a 6-story hotel might as well have been the Empire State Building or the Eiffel Tower to me, he's referring to the West Baden Springs Hotel. Here's why. First, the hotel is 6 stories tall, but when the author made his trip in the 1970s when he was 5.5 years old, the building was no longer a hotel. So the phrase, the site of a 6-story hotel, makes sense. Also, the hotel was marketed as the 8th wonder of the world, just as the Empire State Building was when it opened in 1931, and just as the Houston Astrodome was when it opened in 1965. Maybe the phrase, our destination was Houston, Texas, is a subtle reference to the Astrodome, another world record holding unsupported dome building. The fact that the hotel, the Empire State Building, and the Houston Astrodome are all linked by being called 8th wonders of the world, and that the hotel held the world record for having the largest freestanding dome until the Astrodome was built, it's a fascinating coincidence and maybe even a clue. Okay, what else is interesting about the hotel's history? Well, for a brief time at the end of World War I, the hotel was converted into a hospital for injured troops. And after business dried up following the stock market crash in 1929, the hotel was donated to the Jesuits and became a Jesuit seminary for more than 30 years. Then in 1966, the Jesuits sold the property to Northwood University and it became a satellite campus for the school until 1983, when it was then sold to an investor group that unfortunately soon went bankrupt. And for the next decade, the property sat vacant and unattended, falling into disrepair. The lack of maintenance even caused some of the exterior walls to fall down. So finally, a local Indiana billionaire stepped in and sponsored the restoration of the hotel. And after spending hundreds of millions of dollars to restore the property, the hotel returned to its 1920s glory with the addition of a couple of world-class golf courses. It's now a luxury resort today. All this history is why I think the hotel is a perfect place to include in a treasure hunt. In fact, I think the structure of the Pokemon Box chapter itself could be a clue that points to the hotel. Here's why. Many people have pointed out that there seems to be a mirror or reflection theme to the There's Treasure Inside book, especially within the Pokemon Box chapter. For instance, in the first half of the story, the author starts out in a hotel in New Orleans and then enters a jazz bar. And in the second half of the story, the author meets the Froakie in a jazz bar, hides the treasure, and then ends up in a hotel looking at pictures on his phone. I think the author could be intentionally constructing the story with the first part and the second part as mirrored images of one another. Hotel to jazz bar to hotel. And if we can find the second hotel, we might be very close to the treasure hiding spot. All right, that's all I've got for today's video. In my next video, I'll explain why I think French Lick's most famous resident, Larry Bird, could be a clue to finding the treasure.